So many of you may have heard me talk about the need to repeal a law in Jamaica called the Adverse Possessions Law. It is an old colonial law that has been on the books for a long time. But I think what that law has done is to do a disservice to the Jamaican people, to a lot of the Jamaican people, and because they misunderstand the law. And I have consistently pleaded for government, party neutral, whoever is in power, to repeal that law, because it is creating a misunderstanding amongst many poor Jamaicans who cannot afford to buy land and who are of the opinion that they could simply set up shop on a piece of property that does not belong to them, and as long as they put a permanent structure on that land, even when it's not permanent, they believe that they have some God-given right to that person's property. Now, there are several ways that this can be addressed. It should be addressed legislatively by just repealing the law. This law has been placed on steroids. Not necessarily because somebody looked at the law and said, hey, you know what, let's just take advantage of this law because it doesn't work. But simply because of some policies that came out of the 1970s and probably a little bit later on, where entire communities sprung up on captured land, captured property. You look at a lot of these communities like Flankers and a lot of other communities that sprung up around Kingston, where people just set up shop. And for those of you who wish to speak the truth, people are setting up shop now, literally living on gully banks and stuff like that. This is untenable. Not only is it illegal in the sense that the property does not belong to the people who set up shop, set up homes there, but it places people in dire jeopardy physically and economically. Because as we see now in Trewlany, and a lot of people are making up a whole lot of hoopla about what the actions that are being taken by private landowners who have gone to court, gotten the injunction to remove people from their property. And those people, many of them collectively, have lost all avenues of appeal because those appeals have long been exhausted. But they still believe that because they had built a permanent structure on the property, that they own the property. Now, usually when these things happen, the government of the day takes the blame and is held to account for what is happening at that time, be it PNP or JLP. It just so happens now that this is happening under the JLP. Now, we all know that generally, even in cases where there are court orders and litigants have exhausted all of their appeals, under the PNP, they have literally flouted court orders and allow people and encourage people to stay on private land that does not belong to them. But I just want to simply quickly address the whole question, the whole notion of adverse possession of the property, because like I said, a lot of people are of the opinion that you could just build a home, whether permanent or non-permanent, on a piece of property because the property is unoccupied. I believe that anybody should have access to it and take it over and claim it as their own. So for private land, 12 years for registered land, though some unregistered contexts or older distinctions historically apply. 12 years is standard statutory period under the Limitation of Actions Act. For government land, hey, who is surprised? It's 60 years. So what this law says, you can literally, under certain circumstances, occupy private land as long as you fulfill certain requirements that doesn't belong to you, and then the land becomes yours. But if it's government land, sorry, you have to wait 60 years before you can do that, using the same stipulations. So the requirements for a valid claim to successfully apply for a title through adverse possession via the National Land Agency is that the claimant must prove factual possession, actual physical control and use of the land, that is like building, fencing, debushing, or cultivating the land. So the intention to possess, you have to demonstrate an exclusive intent to occupy the land as an owner, shutting out the actual owner. Without consent, the occupant must be without the permission, the occupation of the land must be without the permission of the legal owner. And the continuous timeline, the 12-year clock, must run uninterrupted, backed by evidence such as tax payments. So you have to be on the land, paying taxes, utility bills, or have witness affidavits that you have lived there for a long time. This is the law that I believe is creating all of this confusion amongst poor people who just want to put up a structure so they can live their lives. Now, it is easy to dismiss people who have built, but when there's a law on the books that allows people to take over private land, then how are you going to blame the people? You can't. I empathize with the people, and this is why I am literally attacking, I have been attacking this law at its foundation from the beginning, from the very beginning. Repeal the adverse protection law. Jamaican Parliament. Repeal it. It is causing too much confusion among the population. And then there are a lot of people nowadays, everybody has a smartphone and a voice. And so they spew all kinds of garbage on the internet about how the government is sending bulldozers, which has nothing to do with government, regardless of who was in power. Has nothing to do with the government. But Jamaicans, we like to talk about the integrity and a free judiciary. But when the courts rule and we don't like the ruling, we now claim that it's the government, or the government should step in and do something. The government has no legal authority to step into a situation in which a valid court order exists. So the Prime Minister that you all are blaming and the Jamaica Labour Party government that you're blaming cannot step in and usurp the authority of the judicial system in the case that exists now in Trewlany, where these people have long exhausted the appeals process and should have found ways to move. And yes, I know how difficult that is, so don't come at me talking about, oh, I don't have empathy and I don't care about poor people. I come from poverty. That's not the issue. What I'm saying to you is this: when you build on land that is not yours, then you have to expect that there are going to be consequences, that somehow you're going to be uprooted when the legal owner, the claimant, the legal claimant come for their property. And I understand that a lot of these things create the wrong impression in people. For example, I also suggest, and I've suggested over and over and over, that the process of the parliament, the real reason for the parliament is to enact laws for the benefit of the people. This is where the guys in the parliament yelling and screaming and carrying on, and the women who are dressing and showing and on social media every day trying to get clout. This is what they should be these are the issues they should be attempting to fix, whether they sit on the government side or they sit on the opposition side. Because these things can be remediated through the legislature. One, ensure that people don't build. So you create laws that says if a property owner has a piece of property and he's not using the property, he's still entitled to it as long as he's paying tax, he or she's paying taxes for the property. That person's have every right to retain their property, but they must bush the land. It can't be like a forest or just filled with bush and it just seems like something that's abandoned. No. Or you face a fine and the fine keep adding up, and if the person refuses to pay, then the government has every right to go to court and claim that land. And then the government can cut up that land and sell it to people so they can build homes. But it can't be that you just move in and take over property that's not yours. Like I said, there are many, many ways to fix this problem, but it requires a proactive, intelligent legislature, which we don't seem to have when it comes to our country, the beautiful country of Jamaica. We don't seem to have that because more time is spent yelling and screaming, banging on desks, hurling insults at the opposition, and the people's business is not being attended to. Now, my heart goes out to the people who are losing their homes, but that's as far as it goes, because when you take illegal actions, these are the consequences, whether we like them or not. Guys, this has been the deep dive. If you like these comments, if you like, whether you like or not, let me hear from you. This has been the Deep Dive TV. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so when we upload new videos, you'll be the first to be alerted. Give us a like and leave us a comment. I will see you on the next one.